Don't blink.
In the headlines tonight,
we can transform our borders.
Members of Parliament welcome President Ruto's remarks on a borderless East African community. General Muhoozi Kainerugaba finally jets Jos rank, hands over office to Lieutenant General Kayanja Muhanga. Also, city socialite requests for speedy trial in aggravated robbery case.
Specifically the right to protection to personal liberty.
And in sports, coach Hamza Lutalo confident in the Cubs as they continue run.
We have to go hard to see that we can beat them. They are not an easy team.
Welcome to CTV PM Edition. My name is Agi Oase with Isaac Luchamzi on Sign Language. Today is Monday, the 10th of October 2022, just a day after we commemorated Uganda at 60. So welcome back from those celebrations. Now, kickstarting off tonight's edition, members of Parliament have welcomed the move to have a borderless East African community as proposed by the Kenyan President William Ruto yesterday. President Ruto made these remarks yesterday at the 60th anniversary Independence Day celebrations held at Kololo Independence Grounds. Let's take a look.
President William Ruto was among the many guests that graced Uganda's 60th anniversary Independence Day celebrations that were held yesterday. In his remarks, the recently elected President of Kenya challenged fellow leaders from the East African community to work towards creating a borderless East African community to foster economic growth among member states.
So that we can transform our borders, which today stand out as barriers, and convert them to bridges so that goods, services, and people can move across this East Africa without any impediments.
This move has since been welcomed by Ugandan members of Parliament who believe that the decision is long overdue.
I think when he joins hand with the President, something tangible will be achieved. And we are pretty sure that when we have a borderless community of East Africa, our unemployed workers may get a chance of working in Congo, working in Tanzania.
But states to come together with the borders left closed, it doesn't really create any meaning. Because the integration that we are talking about the common markets, we are talking about free trade unions, we are talking about without these restrictions. Why should you get a passport to go to Kenya? Why should you get authority to cross to Rwanda?
According to the legislators, however, several issues that need to be streamlined, including having a common currency.
The idea of having a borderless East African community, I think, is everyone's dream, but we know we still have a long way. However, it is good to know that the leadership, the presidents, have the goodwill. But we know we need a uniform currency. We know the economies are a bit different in terms of development. Kenya is a bit ahead of ours. The GDP, debt to GDP ratio in Tanzania and Kenya is different from Uganda. So there are still economic challenges, but we know it would help us as a country. Free movement of labor and goods, because now a Ugandan would go to Kenya to get a job without paying a work permit.
With open borders, there is free movement of goods and services, which promotes competition. The question on many people's lips is Uganda ready?
Uganda at this moment is not ready to reap out of it or to benefit out of it, simply because the cost of production in Uganda is still high as compared to the other East African countries. Notably, the cost of fuel. In Kenya, it is lower than it is in Uganda. In Tanzania, it's lower. In Rwanda, it's lower. When you get to the cost of electricity, still in Kenya, it's lower. Just a month or two ago, we were discussing on how Uganda can import electricity from Kenya. So once you have your electricity down, your fuel down, and other factors, your cost of production is down. So for a similar good that is manufactured in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, that good will be cheaper from sources of Kenya and Tanzania. So when you present those goods on the market, customers will go for the cheaper one. So Tanzanians and Kenyans and people from other countries, they will have more leverage in terms of accessing market or having their goods bought more than Ugandans will do.
The East African Community countries have grown from just 3 nations to 7 following the inclusion of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Now, candidates who failed to go through in the just concluded East African Legislative Assembly elections have decided to drag Parliament to court over what they call election irregularities. Now, the decision to go to court is being spearheaded by Gilbert Agaba, a former IALA candidate who contested and lost.
Last month, Parliament conducted elections for the 9 representatives of Uganda at the East African Legislative Assembly, IALA. At least 28 people were nominated, vetted and verified by Parliament to participate in the elections, which marred with controversy and allegations of rigging. Today, some of the candidates who contested in the IALA elections have decided to take Parliament to court, saying the elections were unfair and full of irregularities.
We were prepared for an election, but we ended up in a sham election. It's not what we expected. The election became a sham, and I believe everyone who participated in that election will testify that that election was a sham. It started by the arrangement of the ballot paper, which I can show you here. This is the ballot paper which we used that day. The normal procedure for arranging a ballot paper should be in alphabetical order. This one was not arranged in alphabetical order. There was no order of arrangement of this ballot paper. They started with the NRM 6. They fixed in between 2 independents. Then they came to political parties and again came to independents. What shocked me is the way the ballot paper is arranged from number 1 to 9 is how all those people passed through, meaning it was a predetermined election.
According to Agaba, elections started before some of the candidates have even finished campaigns.
Normally the procedure of voting in Parliament is by roll call. The Speaker should call out a Member of Parliament, then a Member of Parliament picks a ballot paper and casts his vote. This was not done, contravening the order of voting in Parliament. Secondly, voting took place before campaigns were done. When you look at the order paper, item number 3 was address campaign to Parliament in accordance with Rule 12 Appendix B of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda by candidates nominated to represent Uganda to East African Legislative Assembly in the following order. So candidates were supposed to present to Parliament as item number 3. Then item number 4 of the order paper is voting. What surprised me is around 10:30 a.m., a Member of Parliament called me and told me voting was taking place.
The contestants now want court to nullify the Iyala elections and organize fresh elections.
I did not score 210 as announced by the Speaker. I have 229 votes. We are not satisfied. Personally, I'm not satisfied with the outcomes of the election, and I will be seeking redress from the courts of law. I've already contacted my lawyers. We are already drafting the petitions. This week, before end of this week, our matter will be before court, and we shall seek redress from courts of law, starting with the High Court of Uganda. We shall also seek redress from the East African Court of Justice.
While speaking to CTV on phone, the spokesperson of Parliament, Chris Obore, revealed that they are ready to tease her out in court.
He have said he's going to court, and I'm saying going to court is his right, but doesn't make him right.
Of the 9 elected representatives, 9 are from the ruling National Resistance Movement, 1 from the Democratic Party, while 2 are independent candidates. Sarah Nakandi, CTV, PM Edition.
Now detained members of Parliament Mohamed Segirinya and Alan Sewanyana, through their lawyers, have today requested court to have 15 witnesses testifying against them known instead of them testifying in camera as earlier requested. Now the MPs have for the last 1 year been battling charges of murder, attempted murder and terrorism. Let's take a look.
Legislators Mohamed Segirinya, Alan Sewanyana and the other 5 co-accused today appeared before the International Crime Division Court for a pre-trial hearing on charges of murder, attempted murder, abetting terrorism and terrorism. While appearing before late Justice Alice Komuhanji, the defense team led by lawyer Elias Lukwago today asked court to avail the 15 prosecution witnesses meant to testify. Earlier on, the prosecution team had requested court to have the witnesses testify in camera. According to lawyer Elias Lukwago, testifying in camera violates the right to a fair hearing.
And that has got far-reaching implications. If the evidence they are going to adduce is likely to implicate them, the very reason we should get the full disclosure about their identity, where they reside, what they do, and all that relevant information that will help us prepare a solid defense for the accused persons.
The lawyers say the decision will also lead to a miscarriage of justice.
Because in the ruling of court, there was an observation to the effect that court has analyzed the evidence they are going to adduce, and it is most likely, it's likely to implicate the accused persons, those are our clients.
According to the prosecution, the application does not violate the rights of the accused persons.
It is very clear now that the accused persons, through their lawyers, and with due respect, that they are buying time. They are buying time. Your Lordship, we pray that this application is dismissed, and we continue with the pre-trial hearing. We so pray.
Court has since set 13th October as the date will deliver its ruling in the matter. Flavian Inkuze for CTV, PM Edition.
Now, hundreds of people have today flocked Bombo to show their support and love for the first son and who has recently promoted, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Now, General Muhoozi today was going to Bombo Army Barracks to officially hand over the office of the Commander Land Forces after being recently promoted to the rank of 4-star General before being dropped.
It was tears and elation as General Muhoozi's convoy snacked through traffic en route to Bombo Army Barracks, where he was expected to go for a pimping ceremony to officially wear his newly acquired rank of 4-star General and to hand over office to the newly appointed Commander Land Forces and promoted Lieutenant General Kayanja Muhanga. The pimping ceremony was attended by General Muhoozi's uncle and retired Army officer General Salim Saleh and his wife Charlotte Muhoozi, among other senior Army officers. After wearing his newly acquired rank, it was Lieutenant General Kayanja Muhanga's turn to be dressed. The promotion comes days after President Yoweri Museveni decided to apologize for his son's behavior on Twitter after he made a series of controversial tweets against Kenya.
Computer program in South Africa. Military command and staff appointments held. Over the years, General Kainerugaba has held several command and staff appointments. Currently, he is the Senior Presidential Advisor on National Security.
General Muhoozi Kainerugaba was born on the 24th of April 1974 in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. General Muhoozi has served in different portfolios in the Army, including Commander Land Forces, Head of the Allied Special Forces Squad, and Senior Presidential Advisor.
Now, the Parliamentary Commission has today vetted 3 commissioners in Uganda Human Rights Commission who were recently appointed by President Yoweri Museveni. Now, one of the commissioners who was vetted today is the former Kasanda South Member of Parliament, Simeon Subuga. Let's take a look.
The newly appointed commissioners today made their way to Parliament to appear before the vetting committee of Parliament. These included Omaro Apita, Colonel Stephen Basaliza, and former Kasanda South Member of Parliament, Simeon Subuga. Shortly after his vetting, Simeon Subuga revealed that his appointment was based on merit.
Even if it was a reward, let us assume it was a reward, as you are saying so. But do I have the requirements to be in that office?
Nsubuga also revealed that he has a strong track record of defending human rights.
For the last 23 years of experience of public service, I've been on matters of human rights. For example, I've told that when I was in the Uganda Police Force, I'm one of the authors of the Human Rights Training Manual for the police. And we organized a number of trainings for the police together with the Uganda Mass Commission. When I was seconded to African Union Mission in Somalia, again, we were handling matters of human rights. There was a human rights training manual for Somalia Police Service. Simeon Subuga is one of the authors.
According to Subuga, his efforts will be geared towards promoting human rights.
This business of drone, we have to accept that arresting somebody, putting him in the drone, and the parents or the relatives of that person cannot trace where that person is. That is a violation itself.
The appointed commissioners have all vowed to bring order and sanity in the security agencies as far as human rights are concerned.
You have to engage the leaders, that you can do your work. You can effect an arrest without violating the rights of this person, regardless of the crime committed.
We shall not leave any stone unturned. We shall go for those people who are misbehaving under the pretext of the forces which they serve.
Officers who are arresting should be identifiable. They should preferably be in uniform or identify themselves so that the persons being arrested know who has arrested them and the places of detention where they are being taken to.
The Uganda Human Rights Commission was established under Uganda 1995 Constitution to help investigate acts that violate the human rights made by any person or group. Ramson Mihire, CTV PM Edition.
CTV PM Edition takes a short break, but we'll be right back with more news. Do stay with us. 20 minutes past the hour of 9 p.m. You're still watching CTV PM Edition with me, Aggie Oase, and Isaac Luchamzi in sign language. Now moving on, the Makinde Chief Magistrate Court has today ordered the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution to hurry up with the investigation in the case of aggravated robbery filed by city socialite Charles Salim, also known as Sipapa, and his wife Shamira Nachiemba. According to Sipapa's lawyer Geoffrey Turiamusima, the state is reluctant to conclude its investigations into the matter.
City socialite, also known as Sipapa, and his wife Shamira Nachiemba this morning appeared at the Makinde Magistrates Court before Magistrate Esther Adikini to answer to charges of aggravated robbery. The two are facing 6 offenses related to the theft of money, laptops, phones, among others. The matter was in court formation, and prosecution led by Hope Rukundo prayed for court to award them more time as inquiries into the matter continue, something the defense team led by Geoffrey Turiamusima objected to.
We informed the court about the urgency of the matter, but mainly to see or to compel the state attorney to conclude the investigations, if at all there is a case against our client. And the good news is court has given them per se one last adjournment in order to provide information why they should not conclude the investigations.
According to Turiamusima, the accused rights were also infringed upon.
Their rights or infringement of their right, specifically the right to protection to personal liberty, which is the 48-hour rule. That when they were arrested, especially the woman, she was not arraigned in court after or before the 7 days, the lapse of 7 days. For Sipapa, it was beyond even 3 days in custody. Now, we intimated to court that we are in preparation and arrangement to file their application for human rights, either in this court or in another higher court, in order to see the stoppage of stopping different people from continuing to infringe on their rights.
About his infringement of rights, detained between his accused persons being detained for 48 hours, Worship has not proved. He doesn't have any proof to that. And the law is very clear that he alleges must prove.
After listening to the submissions, Esther Adikini asked prosecution to hurry up with investigations in the matter.
Since the matter is coming up for mention, I would encourage the state to quicken up investigations. We know the law gives you 6 months, but it can be done in a month's time if inquiries are complete. So we'll pray that you use the time that you have to conclude inquiries so that the matter is forwarded for trial.
Court will resume on 10th of November 2022 for mention. According to the prosecution, Sipapa and his wife, Shamira Nachiemba, allegedly stole laptops, phones, and 1.6 billion shillings from 6 South Sudan's nationals. Tony Patila Humza, CTV, PM Edition. Tony Patila Humza, CTV, PM Edition.
The Uganda Communications Commission and other stakeholders have kicked off the cybersecurity awareness help combat cybercrime. According to experts, Uganda loses at least 15 billion shillings annually to criminals.
During the launch of the Cybersecurity Month, members of the general public were urged to be careful and to safeguard their information and details concerning them. According to Uganda Communications Commission, the Cybersecurity Month aims at creating awareness. At the launch, which was held at UCC headquarters, Vincent Mwesigwa, an IT expert working with UCC, revealed the need to create an emergency center to help handle cyber crimes.
I think from the start, I told you some people think cybersecurity is just hacking, but in actual sense, it's going to facilitate the growth. It's going to facilitate your company. It's an enabler where you are able to use the infrastructure in a safe way. So, I mean, that's the drive as a government. We try to push forward to ensure that people are able to understand what cybersecurity is all about.
When a certain study was done by the Global Cybersecurity Index,
it presented that over 72% of institutions confessed that they had no idea how to hire the right cybersecurity professionals. That comes back to issues around education and awareness.
IT expert says Uganda as a country also loses over 15 billion Ugandan shillings.
So when we talk about magnitude, we are seeing an increasing level of threat, especially when it comes to financial institutions and financial services. Right now, one of the biggest victims that we have been witnessing, and some of them supporting directly, are payment gateways and payment aggregators. Payment gateways and aggregators are basically middlemen who receive money from you and forward to the bank for, say, a particular service, be it paying for utilities or a certain service.
Yes, technologies, they facilitate you to do or to grow, to accomplish your tasks, but also you have a responsibility. It's not that they have given us this Wi-Fi, then you just use it anyhow. So there are certain things, there are certain tips also you're supposed to have, at least to ensure that, okay, fine, I'm going to use it. What am I going to use it for?
We keep communicating, actually on a monthly basis, to make sure that through our different channels of communication, we are sending out communication on the things you have to do to protect yourself. Now, if you don't do it, it's not right.
To cybercrime. Recently, Parliament of Uganda passed the Computer Misuse Amendment Bill, which spells out tough penalties for offenders who use their social media accounts to attack others.
Hoima City authorities have ordered pastors operating churches and wetlands to vacate them or they'll be forcefully evicted. This revelation was made in a meeting held between resident city commissioners of over 30 pastors residing from Hoima East Division.
For a while now, President Yoweri Museveni has often spoken out against people who go ahead to occupy wetlands. Recently, the president also ordered resident district commissioners to ensure that all depleted wetlands and swamps are restored across the country. In a bid to enforce the president's directive, Hoima resident city commissioners held a meeting with religious leaders, especially pastors, who have gone on to construct churches in wetlands. Badru Mugabi, the Hoima resident city commissioner, and William Kasigazi, the deputy Hoima resident city commissioner, have now urged in pastors to vacate wetlands and find other convenient areas.
Some of them are near the stream, others are near the river, others are near the swampy area. So technically, we want our technical person to go and help them, to tell them that if you are near the stream, you're supposed to be out of that stream for these meters. If you're from the swampy area, and then we want to help these people because some of these people are not informed.
We are advising or calling these churches to relocate those that are in wetlands, to relocate to safe zones. They get out of that buffer of a wetland such that we have a restoration of these wetlands.
The call, however, was met with resistance from the pastors. Some pastors applied for good places and they were denied approval at mountains. You have stopped us. Now, where do you want us to go? We shall try to cooperate with the community, but also help us to tell people the importance of the church in the community. Sometimes wrongdoers are the ones that incite the public to be against the church. During the meeting, security operatives cautioned pastors against extorting money.
You need to be registered, those children, those people have their rights, they need to be protected. Be conscious, be conscious. Because you are looking after them, then you make them slaves as your church.
I've been having issues with some pastors owning the believers. They tell them, you go and sell whatever you have and bring it to the church, and then this person remains in poverty. So for us as government, we don't encourage them to do that.
Other issues discussed include security relations, support to government programs such as the parish development model, Emyoga, among others.
We have agreed one, that they are going to serve the people, but not actually disturbing their peace.
They should start coming up with strategies of harnessing the available opportunities in government, like a Emyoga program, like the parish development model, and others, such that they mobilize their flock to benefit from these government programs.
Recently, a pastor was arrested in Hoima for allegedly beating his worshippers in a church in Chesiga East, Hoima West Division. Kevin Kasoma, CTV, PM Edition.
In our regional news tonight, 76 people have been reported dead after a boat they were traveling in sank in Anambra State in southeastern Nigeria on Friday, while Rwandan forces display confidence amid precarious security situation in Mozambique. We have more. 76 people have been reported dead after a boat they were traveling in sank in Anambra State in southeastern Nigeria on Friday, Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari said on Sunday. Some 85 people were on board the boat, which was traveling on River Niger. Anambra is one of the 29 states in Nigeria's 36 states that have been devastated by heavy flooding since the start of the rainy season. Accidents involving boats are common in Nigeria. They are often linked to overloaded vessels, excessive speed, poor maintenance, and disregard for traffic rules. Since the beginning of the rainy season, many parts of Nigeria have been ravaged by floods, and more than 300 people have been killed and at least 100,000 left homeless in the country's worst floods since 2012, according to emergency services. The Palma area in Mozambique has been a base for the militant group Al-Shabaab for the past several months. The arrival of Rwandan forces in August 2021, however, has brought relative security to the area, enabling most people to return home. Only last week, the United Nations warned that the conflict had not subsided, but the Rwandan forces displayed confidence in a still precarious security situation in the gas-rich region. Mozambique security forces are ill-trained and equipped compared to their Rwandan colleagues, and they are little trusted by locals. According to Lieutenant Colonel Ronald Rivanga, the spokesperson of the Rwanda Defense Forces, the ordinary incidents they get are isolated incidences. And elsewhere in the world, several regions around Ukraine have been left without electricity after today's missile strikes, while leader of Belarus under pressure to show solidarity with Putin. Several regions around Ukraine have been left without electricity after today's missile strikes. Lviv, Poltava, Sumy, and Ternopil regions were left with no power, and supply has been partially disrupted in other areas, according to Ukraine's state emergency service. Ukraine's prime minister says power in the city of Sumy has since been restored, and most of the damaged infrastructure will be repaired by the end of the day. Ukrainian authorities are asking people across the country to reduce electricity consumption between 17 and 22 local time to help manage the reduction in power. Alexander Lukashenko, the leader of Belarus, is under pressure to show solidarity to Vladimir Putin in this war, especially as Russia's international isolation increases. Belarusian territory, which lies in the north of Ukraine, has been key to the invasion from the start. Russian tanks rolled across the Belarusian border on the way to Kyiv at the beginning of the conflict, and Belarus is still a launchpad for Russian missiles. But Lukashenko's watchword is stability, and he's always pledged not to involve his country's soldiers directly in the fighting, not to get dragged into this war. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with news from the world of sports. Do stay with us. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching CTV PM Edition with me, Agi Oase, and Isaac Luchamzi on sign language. Now moving on to the world of sports, Uganda are to face Somalia at the ongoing Under-17 AFCON Zonal Qualifiers semi-final. The Cubs will play Somalia on Wednesday afternoon at the Abebe Bikila Stadium in Addis Ababa. Let's take a look.
Champions Uganda Cubs will play Somalia in the semi-final after Tanzania defeated Somalia 2-1 in the final round of Group A matches yesterday. Uganda, who defeated Burundi and South Sudan to comfortably finish top of the Group B, will play Somalia on Wednesday looking for a third win on the bounce. Head coach Hamza Utal says all players are fit to face a Somali side that will not give them an easy match.
We are going to play Somalia. Somalia is a good team. 2018, they duped us in Sekafa. They beat us 1-0. We have to go hard to see that we can beat them.
The finalists of this competition will represent East Africa at the Under-17 AFCON next year. Utal says they are going to do all it takes to get the win.
I will work hard and then we'll see how we are ending that game. We need to qualify to go to Algeria this time.
Uganda enter this fixture as the favorites to win the competition, having won the last edition. Uganda is seeking to make it to the Under-17 Africa Cup of the Nations for the third successive time.
We've come to the end of CTV PM Edition. My name is Agi Oase with Isaac Luchamzi on sign language. Thanks for watching and have a good night.